We have quite a bit packed into this episode. First, we take a look back at an exciting weekend of being on the hood of the number 68 Chevrolet Camaro of Brandon Brown in the Xfinity race at Nashville.
Who would have thought that Kickin the Tires would have been the primary sponsor on an Xfinity car?
Plus, 2 updates from Hendrick Motorsports. First, Chase Elliott suffers a DQ after NASCAR found loose lug nuts on his car. Not 1, not 2, not even 3, but a total of 5 loose lug nuts. And second, news that we all saw coming. The official announcement with Jeff Gordon moving to Vice President of HMS.
Big news that everyone knew was eventually coming.
And something we don't get to see much from motorsport athletes, but 2021 Monster Energy AMA Supercross champion Cooper Webb has been nominated for an ESPY Award. Cooper Webb was nominated for the first ESPY Award in the Best Athlete for the Men's Action Sports category. Plus, Seth Eggert shares his opinion article on why a diverse NASCAR matters to him as a Jewish journalist.
That was my first personal experience with discrimination.
Join us as we take a look back at NASCAR's trip to Music City, how the second race of Tony Stewart's SRX series went, and our predictions for the Pocono doubleheader. Welcome to the Kickin' Show.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Kickin' Show, the official podcast of Kickin the Tires. We got Seth Eggert, Justin Schuoler, call you second this time, and the movie star himself on location near Pocono, Pennsylvania, Zach Catanzareti, getting ready for some racing action at the track this weekend. And what else you got going on? Did you have any roles this week? Are you on set, or did they let you go off for the racetrack?
They let me go for the racetrack, so I have the weekend clear. I just got home back here in Pennsylvania, about 45 minutes east, I think. I don't even know the direction, but about 45 minutes away from Pocono. I just got off Shazam! Fury of the Gods last week, which is a DC movie coming out 2 years from this month, June of 2023. So hopefully I'll be back on that, and it'll be, kind of ease the transition into waiting for 2 years. But not long of a wait until Pocono this weekend. It's one of my favorite tracks, so I'm just jazzed up to talk about it.
Well, excellent. Justin, what's happening out on the California coast?
Man, we are opening up. It's exciting. We're finally catching up with the rest of civilization. It's pretty nice. So, yeah, I can't really complain too much.
Can you go to a restaurant without having to sit outside?
Yes. And yeah, so we literally, Tuesday of last week was our first actual full open day. And my brother, who's living with us, and then my wife, Rachel, we 3 of us went out to a restaurant and just sat down. Walked in with no masks, sat down with no masks, ate food with no masks, and No, the secret is you have to wear the mask, but you cut a hole in the mask right here, so that way when you open your mouth, then your mask opens up, and then you can eat, and then does that. That was kind of
missed it for a year and a half. Dang it.
So I'm gonna eat some. I'm gonna eat. I don't know if y'all noticed this right here. This is an Andy's hat. This is Andy's frozen custard. This is an unauthorized commercial for Andy's frozen custard. We're not authorized to have them on the show, but I would love for them to join us. And since you brought up eating, I'm going to just look. This was cookie dough. Okay, it's empty. You know why? Because my wife ate it. This was Oreo. It's empty too. You know why? My wife ate it. Andy sent me a care package a couple weeks ago because Andy's is going to sponsor the Xfinity race at Texas Motor Speedway coming up later this year. They're also going to sponsor AJ Allmendinger, and they've sponsored Austin Dillon, I believe. They have the number 3 flavor, which was really good at Texas Motor Speedway. All I have left is I'm going to eat on the show. I have chocolate. So I'm going to join my chocolate. Seth's going to tell us what's happening in North Carolina.
Well, that's one way to do a transition. Anyway,
they could sponsor our rear end.
Well, we did sponsor someone's. We didn't sponsor his rear end. We sponsored the hood on Brandon Brown's car. We were the primary. Who would have thought that Kickin the Tires would have been the primary sponsor on an Xfinity car?
And who would have thought that car would have ended up kicking the tire?
Yeah. Yeah.
We did kick a tire. The brake rotor
And
shattered.
Anyway, Seth, what's going on out in North Carolina?
And
Well-
wait. The brake rotor shattered, went through the tire. Kudos to Brandon Brown for not hitting the wall like Ryan Blaney did on the next day. So I'm just saying, Brandon
or
Brown,
Quinn Hoff,
or
or
Quinn Huff,
yeah.
or anybody else. Yeah, there was
Chris
a lot
Buescher.
of brake failures.
Justin Haley. Yeah, we
Jeez.
could go down the
Briscoe.
list.
Yeah. So great days in Nashville, but what is happening out in the motherland of NASCAR, Seth?
Well, not much is going on here. Let's see. I wasn't on last week because I was attempting to race my way into the Firecracker 400 on iRacing. I ended up about a second short. Finished 20th. I had to be top 11 to transfer into qualifying. Their qualifying is going on right now on iRacing. I'm slowly following along while doing the podcast. Junior has not qualified yet. Junior won the primary, the prelim that I was in. I did not crash this time, and I finished on the lead lap this time. Last year, I got wrecked out on lap 1. It was a fun little race. I'd say probably the most fun I've had on iRacing in a little while. And I'm actually looking at maybe running the IndyCar series on iRacing this season, the next 12 weeks, because they're actually going to a lot of tracks that I've historically been good at. But back in the real world, I met Greg Stump for lunch earlier today, just hanging out, and still working at the college. Right now, there's still no students on campus, and just getting ready for the fall semester. So
you think
not much going on.
You think they'll let me race that IndyCar stuff? I'm better in IndyCar than I'm in stock cars.
Well, it is a official series, so all you have to do is get your license level up to a Class C, and you can run it all you want.
What do you start off with?
Rookie. You go rookie, Class D, Class C.
I'm Class D, so I'd have to work on that, wouldn't I?
Yes.
Yeah, I suck at racing. I'm great at eating chocolate frozen custard, though. So,
well, I have to go back a few years to look at the stats, but I want to say in 2014 I finished 9th in the IndyCar standings in a couple of seasons. So maybe I can pull that off again. This time in a kicking car instead of a random white car.
Hey, that'll work. Justin's frustrated
yeah.
with me, by the way.
I'm not frustrated with you at all. It looks good.
I didn't have enough to share. You know why? Because my wife ate the rest of it.
Yeah.
So Andy's. If you guys are listening, please send more frozen custard to my house so that I can have it.
I live right next to an Andy's.
Really?
It's literally right up the road, and it's freaking jam packed every day. So I haven't gone yet, but I got coupons in the mail, so I might go when I get back home. But
Stop and ask them if they want to sponsor a podcast. I mean, think of the publicity that we got Brandon Brown this past weekend.
Right.
Okay.
Also,
and the publicity we got from Brandon Brown as well.
I mean, our website kind of did blow up. I'm just saying, being on Brandon Brown's car did not hurt our stats at all. So, if you're a sponsor out there and you're looking, there's 2 great partners here: Brandon Brown, Brandon Built Motorsports, and Kickin the Tires. And we still have a partnership going forward with Brandon Built Motorsports. We're going to be on their hauler. Zach, you've got some great things going on with some other potential sponsors that they're bringing on board. So this is a really good partnership that it just took me 20 years to put together.
How old was Brandon Brown 20 years ago?
Probably
6
in diapers.
I can look that up. Let's see.
I think he's like 27.
Racing reference.
He was probably young, definitely a lot young. 20
years ago, he would have been 7 years old.
Okay,
I was off by 1.
He was in 2nd grade. So there you go.
I was off by 1. We'll talk about someone who was probably in the 2nd grade 20 years ago. Chase Elliott. Hey, great run for them.
No, he's only 24. He's only 24.
Didn't you say like you didn't know who would be older, like Kyle Larson or Chase Elliott? And Larson's what, 26 right now, 27. He's actually that's a pretty similar age to Brandon Brown. So, but yeah, a couple news from the Hendrick stable. Seth, you got one on the kind of industrial side of things, but Chase Elliott, not a bad run, won a stage and finished 13th until he got dinged in post-race tech, where they found not one, not two, not even three, but a total of 5 loose lug nuts.
That's a record.
4 of them on one wheel. That yikes.
No wonder he's vibrating at the end of the race.
Now, granted, I wonder if that is most likely from all the brake rotor issues and stuff like that, because that issue sounds like a brake rotor warped, and every time you hit the brakes at that point, the whole wheel and or axle just completely vibrates, and I guarantee you that's what knocked them loose. I don't think it was the tire changer. I'm almost 90%, I'm almost 100% positive that it was not the tire changer's fault there, because there's no way that, especially these guys at this high level, they're not missing 5 lug nuts. You can't tell me that.
Well, I mean, that's a lot to miss, especially 4 on one wheel, because I was sitting at the track and we knew something was going down in inspection. I actually went over to NASCAR and said, look, I have to do the AP radio wrap. What's happening? It's almost 2.5 hours after the end of the race. We still didn't have an inspection. You know, did the 5 car fail? Did Ross Chastain's car fail? What's happening? And then they said, we're fixing to tell you. So I'm going over there, changing stuff, getting ready, getting my tweet ready, and getting the show ready. And the 9 car of Chase Elliott has had, first they said 4 lug nuts, which was bad enough. Then they came back like 2 minutes later and said, correction, there were 5 lug nuts loose on the 9 car.
Yeah, out of 20 possible also. Yeah, and then Scott Miller said on Sirius XM too that probably, Jerry, another reason why they took so long is that whenever these teams or a specific driver starts to fire off, they really put them under a microscope. That's literally the word he used there. So wouldn't be surprised if they put that number 5 car under a microscope, because the last 6 races, excluding the All-Star race, his worst finish is second. So
including the All-Star race.
I fully expected the announcement on Sunday night to be the 5 car being taken back to the R&D center for further evaluation, but we didn't hear that.
Yeah, so bummer for Chase Elliott. What that does mean, though, is since he did win stage 1, he loses that playoff point and loses all the points from that as well. And Kurt Busch gets the playoff point for winning stage 1. And
let me just tell you, I actually texted Kurt. Kurt didn't know that Chase had been disqualified. And I texted Kurt and I said, dude, don't know if you know, but 9 car disqualified. You're the winner of stage 1. I'll take it. Happy times.
And then to just kind of throw another marble in there too, Chase Elliott put up on Twitter, he retweeted NASCAR and NBC announcing his DQ. He asked a question. He said, honest question, if it had come off, talking about his wheel, if our wheel had come off and we crash, we would then get to keep our stage points? ? Which it's a legitimate question. Because the rule book.
Oh, well.
So everybody would have gotten like, a gazillion dollar fine and suspensions.
Well, he would have kept the playoff point.
Yes. That's what I was going to say.
Then had his crew chief, tire changer, and tire carrier, if I remember correctly, suspended for 4 races. Not to mention, I think it's a $100,000 fine.
It's hefty, but here's my question: how come that didn't happen in the was it Xfinity race, or is it Truck race or Xfinity race that in like the first lap the wheel came off?
That was Quinn Hoff in the Cup race.
Was that the Cup race?
Yeah,
it was the Cup race. It didn't come off until after he hit the wall.
Yeah,
is that what it was? Okay.
What they said was the impact into the wall broke something in the hub or in the in the I always want to say spin wheel 'cause we use
suspension.
that.
Okay, because I was that's right. I was sitting in the press box. It was a cup race. My bad. I saw a lot of racing this weekend. I haven't had a lot of sleep. But the I don't know if y'all know this or not, but Nashville's kind of a party city. Just saying.
Fits
And
NASCAR perfectly. I know.
It fits a lot of the drivers perfectly.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
it was fun times in Nashville. I want to go to Nashville when there's not a race so that I don't have to like work all day and then play all night and then not sleep. But you know,
Matt Coulson will show you around.
that's what I heard. He was there. He shot some great photos this weekend.
Yeah.
So Christian Coley was there too. He was shooting photos. I think he did a couple of ARCA stories as well as shooting some photos. I think we put a couple of them on the site. So it was good times. And by the way, did I mention that we sponsor Brandon Brown's number 68 Brandon-built Motorsports Chevrolet Camaro?
Speaking of fun times in Nashville, Stewart-Haas Racing had a really fun time in Nashville with 2 of their guys finishing in the top 5.
You just completely ignored.
Yeah.
Wow.
They almost had 4 in the top 10 if it wasn't for brake rotors.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know about brake rotors on the 68 car.
Yeah.
Because our brake rotor on the 68 car, and I say our because I feel connected to the team through this sponsorship. These guys are really awesome, and I know I'm cutting up, but seriously, I can't get over the fact that they let us put our logo on the car. I'm still kind of like shocked. It really was cool. And the checks
awesome.
are today.
It was cool to watch on TV and see Dale Jr. call it kickingthetires.com.
Oh my
Zach.
gosh. I was trying so hard to find like a GIF from the movie Emperor's New Groove where he's like, for the last time, we did not order a giant trampoline, and just go, for the last time, it's .net, not .com.
Well,
He said
here's
it right.
the thing.
He said it right the day before.
Yeah, he said it right in practice.
Yeah.
Look, in the heat of the moment, trust me, it's like you got to go. I am not throwing shade at Dale Earnhardt Jr., buddy. Thank you for mentioning Kicking the Tires. Thank you for talking to me in the media center about it. I got to talk to Dale Earnhardt Jr. about sponsoring a car in the Xfinity Series, and the attention that Brandon Brown was able to bring to us was great. And if you're a
Except that Dale
there,
Jr. should start following all of us on Twitter. All right.
Well, there's
anyway.
that. But seriously, if you're a sponsor out there, and this, I'm gonna write like a little column or something on this, dude. The Xfinity Series where it's at. I mean, reasonable rates to get on a car, and Brandon and those guys were just amazing to work with. So, and Zach, I know for a fact you already know who their sponsor is for this weekend at Pocono. You probably can't tell us yet, but I know tomorrow you're going to be announcing it to the world.
I will be, yeah. Obviously, we're the official media partner of Brandon-built Motorsports for the remainder of the year, so that's going to lead to a lot of exciting opportunities. And one of them, which was kind of an idea I had and something that we've been doing for a little bit, was to kind of incorporate more video content into our articles and our coverage. I did it at Indianapolis 500. I did debriefs. Perhaps we're going to be doing something a little similar with them. So I'm going to be with the CEO of their new sponsor that will be announced tomorrow or Friday for Pocono, and we're going to discuss what that partnership is like. It is someone brand new to NASCAR, so it really shows what Brandon and that team is doing. They're getting websites like us who've been covering for decades, and they're getting people who don't have any experience in the sport. So it's showing that team's really healthy, and we know they're competitive. I know this weekend really hurt them in terms of the playoffs, but we still got a good handful of races for them to get into the postseason, because they're a top 5, top 10 team every week, so it can be done.
Hey, we were going to get into the Stewart-Haas stuff a while ago, but we do have video from Kevin Harvick and Eric Almirola. But take us through what happened with their race in the Cup race, because I know you were up keeping up with that.
Yeah, it was. I would certainly say their best weekend they've had in quite a long time. I mean, when it came to the weekend as a whole, I know we haven't had a whole lot of full weekends this year with practice and qualifying, but what we saw from them this week was just an overall full, complete weekend. And, it didn't end well for about half the cars, but obviously Eric Almirola went out there and won the pole. I felt like he was one of the only guys not to blow turn 1 in qualifying. Everyone was going into turn 1 and they were all washing up high. A few guys hit the wall. Truex, ended up starting like 35th. It was just a tough corner. and Almirola went out early, and he ended up getting the pole, which I know really surprised me, and I'm sure it surprised even Eric and most of the team. You know, we've seen him have really good 1.5 mile speed, and this isn't a 1.5 mile. It kind of drives more like a short track or kind of its own thing. So we didn't know what to expect, but Eric brought that pace, and he won just his 3rd pole. And I expected him to fall off in the race, and he did for a little bit, but I mean, he pretty much held inside the top 10. And when it came to that final stage, he ended up just moving up the running order, and he ends up with a 4th place finish, which is fantastic for him. I mean, he's just had a horrible season. He went on a run there with just DNF after DNF, and you know, he had 6th place at Richmond, but that's been it. So for him to get a top 5 from pole, definitely stops the bleeding, and one of Almirola's best races he's had in a long time. And Jerry got to speak with him after the race. Here's his thoughts on how his race went.
It means we're working hard. You know, we've had a lot of races where 4 has been a 10th place car, and the other 3 of us have run, you know, 25th, it seems like. So we've been working so hard. When you run bad, it's 10 times as much work, because you know, you're going down every single different avenue trying to figure out what's going to make speed in the race cars. And when you have fast race cars, it's easy. You just massage on it, polish it, and keep going to the racetrack with what you know is fast. So we've been working so hard. Proud of everybody back at the shop, and specifically this 10 team. You know, we've been off, and it's been nice to get it back going here in the right direction after 2 weeks in a row of running up front.
Going in the Pocono, he's had good weekends there, but you know, Harvick, he was in the top 5 as well. Not as crazy of a result. He's just like for many years, he's been by far the best SHR car, and it's been an off year for him. This is his first top 5, I think, in like a month and a half or 2 since Kansas. So it definitely kind of got him into the right direction. He's great at Pocono. He finally won there last year, but he was definitely pleased with the result after the race. Jerry got to speak with him a little bit.
Is this what you were talking about before the race, that this is the type of stuff that you need to move forward with, building blocks?
Yeah, you know, I think before our damage, I think, you know, we probably had the 2nd best car at the end, and got a little bit of damage on the right side, and got a little bit tight, and then ran out of gas there off of turn 4 and lost a couple spots, but all in all, it was a solid day.
So it was a good result for him. And then Seth, you mentioned the other 2 for Stewart-Haas, and really felt for them, Cole Custer and Chase Briscoe. They definitely had top 10 cars, I felt. We saw Custer.
Did you say Custard?
What was that?
Custard, not custard.
Oh, okay.
Custard. Come on, man.
Okay.
I don't know if he's going to be sponsored by Andy's, but it would make sense. But Custer.
Cold Custard.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Cold Custard right here.
Doesn't Cole Custer have a custard review on YouTube, if I remember correctly?
Does he still do that? It was fun. He had a fun time with it.
I think he paused it during the pandemic, but I hope he brings it back.
Yeah, it was like cold custard reviews.
I'm hoping Andy's sends me some more cold custard.
We should set that up, but hopefully it goes better than Custer's race, because that, as I said, he had a great run going. He's had a tough year, only I think 2 top 10s. Qualified 7th and was running well, and he had one of the many brake issues, as did Chase Briscoe. And for these guys, for Briscoe, it's his rookie year, and he's been having decent results. But I mean, when it comes to the playoffs, they're Almirola too. They're 26th, 27th, and 28th in points. Absolutely, I know we still have 9 races to go, but it's definitely a must-win for all 3 cars. So, I mean, a lot of positives to take out. I know half the team didn't get the finish they deserve, but I think if you were to talk to most teams, when it comes to luck or having the speed, I think for the most part you want the speed, because luck, I mean, that can just go any other way. You can blow a motor, you can, you know, get a fuel mileage finish. I mean, just anything could go with luck. But if you have that pace, you have that good foundation to where you can bring that to next week. And repeat what you've done. So they had the momentum, and we'll see if they can repeat it in Pocono.
Now, Seth, you did have some news in Charlotte this week. You forgot to mention this earlier. The big man himself, Jeff Gordon, actually he's not that big, he's kind of short, But Jeff Gordon named vice president of Hendrick Motorsports. I'm shocked. This is my shocked face.
Yeah, it's the big news that everyone knew was eventually coming. Jeff's been a co-owner of Hendrick Motorsports for years. He's co-owned the 48. He had a lifetime contract there after he stayed loyal to Mr. H while Ray Evernham went to Dodge in 1999 and 2000. And he's now the vice chairman, or will be, the vice chairman of Hendrick Motorsports effective January 1st. And he is leaving his role in the broadcast booth with Fox Sports at the end of this year. He will take over some minor roles to a certain point at Hendrick, and Mr. H is still going to be there, still going to be the ultimate say. And Gordon, I know he'll be on the diversity committee that NASCAR founded earlier this year as well. On behalf of Hendrick Motorsports, he'll be representing them there. And honestly, it's just something that I think we all knew would happen one day, especially after the 2004 plane crash that Hendrick tragically had. Gordon was the natural successor at this point.
And that's when they lost Ricky.
Yes.
And in the plane crash, they were all going up to Martinsville, and the very mountainous area. It's a very treacherous airport. They're coming for a landing, and the plane crash got lost in the fog, I believe, is what I heard. But yeah, a lot of great people lost their lives that day, and you know, Rick has he actually talked about Ricky this past weekend at Nashville post race, and one of the questions I asked was because, you know, the last time the 5-car was in victory lane at a Cup race was in Tennessee, was his car. It was I think it was Bodine that was driving.
Jeff Bodine.
Yeah.
And he started from the 5th position, all that stuff.
So, you know, he talked about those memories and everything of having looking back and paint schemes and Ricky and the family. So that's just, you know, it's fitting that Jeff Gordon moves into that role. We all knew that he would, but he is like, Jeff Gordon's like a son to Rick Hendrick. And, you know, so, you know, this is the next step in the line of progression. You know, you never can tell with Harvick about whether he's in a good mood or bad mood. He was obviously pleased with the results, but as he said earlier in the day, that same day actually, before they went out for qualifying, they're not having the same conversation about running good and winning and everything. So that's some of the message that you heard in the audio there was referring to the comments that he made earlier in the day about his team overall and where they need to be and where they still have a long way to come. Justin, speaking of a long way to come, my understanding, this is big news. Cooper Webb nominated. This is like, I don't know if anybody maybe it's happened, but has Supercross ever had an athlete nominated for an ESPY before? Maybe Ricky Carmichael or somebody like that?
I'd have to go through the list. I know there have been some motocross, like guys who mainly focus on motocross as with their careers that have been nominated before. I have to see about Supercross. But yeah, this is huge. Whenever you have any kind of motorsport athlete nominated for something like this, it's always big news because for some reason, like our athletes just get overlooked left and right. I know it took a long time for Jimmy Johnson to get recognized while he was in the middle of his 5 championship streak. But yeah, like you said, Monster Energy Supercross champion this year, 2-time champion now, Cooper Webb was nominated for the first ESPY award in the best athlete for the men's action sports category. So yeah, like you said, it's a huge deal coming off of a season where he won almost half the races, 8 of 17 for the Supercross season, and already off to a strong start with the motocross season as well. But yeah, anytime something like this happens, it's huge. You can go to kickingthetires.net if you want to cast your vote and help another motorsport athlete get that award. Very well deserved, though. I mean, he was so dominant all season long. It's been a long time since we've seen someone just kind of set the bar and own it like Cooper Webb did this year. So really cool. Special thanks to all the guys at Feld Entertainment to give us the heads up before they sent that press release out. So really cool. Thanks for all of them helping us out. But yeah, huge news coming from Supercross with that.
Yeah, actually, Carmichael was an SB back in like 2007. He did get put. I don't know if he won it or not, but he was nominated, I believe, back in 2007. So a little quick research while you were talking about it. Yeah. Look, this partnership, this is the coverage we've been giving to the Feld Group with Supercross. I didn't know what to think of it when you brought it to me, but our readers sure love it. And they definitely are easy to work with. So I hope this goes on and continues for a long time.
Yeah, and even with Rachel too, she's absolutely loved shooting the photos and stuff like that. And then for me, it's just so much flashback to my childhood memories of racing motocross and all that stuff, being out there with them. So,
Seth, iRacing, and you did. Before you get into that, would you mind just briefly talking about your column that's up on the website right now, if you don't mind?
Yeah, I don't mind. As I've talked about before, and I know you've mentioned it on the show before, I am Jewish, and about 2 weeks ago, it was the 1-year anniversary of NASCAR banning the Confederate flag. And after reading some thoughts from Daniel McFadden over at Front Stretch and some interviews he did with race fans that have actually become fans because of NASCAR banning the Confederate flag, I wrote down my thoughts and some of my past experiences. I mean, if you were to look at me, if you didn't know I was Jewish, I would look like the average race fan way back when. And I had 2 experiences. One at a truck race, I was wearing my Star David, that my grandfather had passed down to me. 2008 was when he passed it down to me. In 2013, at a truck race, I was in the restroom, leaving the restroom, and I was confronted by a fan. I'll use air quotes for this fan, and he was asking me if I'd picked up a $20 bill from behind a trash can, and it caught me off guard. Being the helpful person I typically am, I looked and they even tried moving the trash can to see if it was there, and when I apologized saying it wasn't there, he said, "Look, I know you're made of money. Just give me one of the 20s." And I realized I had the Star David out. Basically, instead of tucking it in my shirt, I still had it out. And I realized what was going on. That was my first personal experience with discrimination. And then at a race, a rainout race, 2015, I said shalom at the end of the invocation. I always have. My family always has. And some fans, I guess, heard me and didn't take too kindly, pelted me with some beer, and I felt threatened because the way they were pointing and shouting at me. I left my seat and thought some of them were following me. Missed probably the first 30, 40 laps of the race before I got to a different section where I knew one of my dad's friends was sitting. Figured I wasn't going to leave the track, but I would at least sit by somebody that I knew, so that way, in case anything did happen, I could go to them. Then
go ahead.
And then it left me wondering what I was doing with the sport. I mean, I've always been a fan at that time. I was still a fan at that time. I was writing for iRacing News earlier in that year. That had come to an end. That ended, I think, in May of that year. And I did a short developmental journalist stint with Popular Speed that ended, I think, in June. And I was left questioning what I was doing in the sport.
Well, here's the thing. There's no excuse for what happened to you. We talked about that last night.
Yeah.
We talked about this before. We should have been there because, that wouldn't have happened to me because security would have been called to pick up the guy on the ground. But I get the situation, complete stereotypical bunch of crap that, you shouldn't have had to put up with. And those people don't deserve to be at a racetrack. I don't agree with a lot of stuff that happens at racetracks. I kind of, sometimes I don't say anything, but let me tell you something. If I see someone mistreating someone or disrespecting, no matter what the race, nationality, ethnicity, religious freedom, whatever, that's not going to sit well with me. And I don't think it would sit well with anybody on this podcast. I don't care that you're Jewish. I'm Christian, but you work for us. You're my friend, and it wouldn't matter if I didn't know you.
Yeah.
If I'd have seen that, it'd have been bad news. And NASCAR needs to step up and make, and they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
Now they brought on Alvin Kamara to do some outreach and some things like that, but I don't think that's all. I think there's more to it.
Yeah, and I go on to say that in my piece, I basically, yes, they're opening up and they're being more diverse, whether it's with race, with sexuality, and I'm just saying here, like, don't forget about religion. And the main reason why is, my personal experiences, and I also talked a little bit about Josh Rayo's suspension and how that affected me as well.
I'm familiar with that one, yeah.
Well, especially because my grandparents survived the Holocaust. My grandfather was in Auschwitz. That basically the only time I feel awkward at the track in general is during and immediately after the invocation. And I'm not saying to get rid of it at all. I'm more to try to be more inclusive with the invocations, if there's a way of doing it. I know there's been reverends and priests that, and I believe Louis Frank referenced one, I want to say this past Sunday, that always said shalom and amen at the end of his.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So there are some, and there are ways of doing it. I just wish it was more common, because I feel like it's less common today.
And you're probably right. I mean, that maybe that an area that's left over that NASCAR hasn't addressed. I'm sure they will get to it at some point. Who knows? Maybe they'll read your column. I do know they read everything that goes on the website, so I'm sure somebody has seen it by this afternoon. So
and
don't
the
be
one
surprised if somebody reaches out to you.
Yeah. And the one thing I didn't do was name the tracks, because it's not the track's fault that this happened. The tracks can't control that this happened. If you look at my social media, because I was taking pictures and dabbling in photography back then, you can probably figure out which tracks I was at as well.
Well, I can tell you this. Last year, we did something on the site. I did it because NASCAR banned the Confederate flag. There was protest at Talladega. Rather than just sit there and write the story that, NASCAR banned the flag, I went and talked to the protesters that were protesting NASCAR banning the flag that they were selling, by the way, across the street at the off-site concession stands. And then our site gets hacked, shut down completely. Justin, is trying to save everything we have. We get it back up, and then it gets hacked again because I guess they left a back door. They knew what they were doing, and I know who did it. I know what group did it. They bragged about it. And, so we were not promoting anyone. We were showing how stupid and idiotic these people sounded. Mm-hmm. And what they stood for was not the values of what I stand for, this company stands for, or what anybody on this podcast, or what NASCAR stands for. But we got victimized for it. And we still haven't gotten our archives put back up yet.
Yeah,
There's hundreds of stories that we don't have on the site because of what happened last year.
Yeah, and Jerry, you and I have talked about it quite a few times before. I don't want to get into the context of it because I don't want to throw anyone under the bus as well. Same like what Seth with the track names and all that stuff. But my slogan has always been, it's not a color or a religion, it's an attitude, and that's basically what it is. Just these people think they're bigger than a certain race or bigger than a certain color or a certain religion and whatnot, and then you just see this kind of attitude pop out, and it's pretty consistent across the board. So it's really sad that people do that, because I'll tell you what, from joining this team, I've learned so much from someone like Seth and people who hold different viewpoints, whether conservative or more liberal or more centralist and all that stuff. And I think it's really helped me get a bigger perspective on the entire industry and everything. So,
well, Seth, if you ever have an issue and you're at a racetrack, you need to call me.
Oh, well, to be fair, 2013 and 2015.
Not because I'm going to come whip someone's ass, but I might. But I have a direct line to NASCAR security. Okay, so
we're just going to invent
this issue.
We're just going to invent a time machine for Jerry, and then he can go back to 2013.
Yeah, I was going to say 2013. The only person in NASCAR that I knew and I'm saying in NASCAR loosely, is Enrique Contreras, because I was doing a little work for him at the summer shootout. And then 2015, I kind of knew the people from what was Popular Speed, but
it's no longer around. You don't have to say that name anymore.
But it's not in existence anymore. So, but moving on, there was some iRacing news to something more lighthearted.
But I want people to read your column, and I want them to take it to heart. So,
But like and moving on to the iRacing news, which is a little more lighthearted and good-natured. Bobby Zielinski won the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series event at Pocono Raceway. It went caution-free for the first 72 laps. Then 7 cautions and 3 overtimes later, Bobby Zielinski held off Ray Alfala, his back-end teammate, Mitchell DeYoung. And when I say back-end on iRacing, yes, you have Joe Gibbs Racing, you have Letarte Esports, you have 2311 Racing. But on the back-end of the site, you have different teams. Zielinski is on Letarte Esports. And on the back-end of the site, he's teammates with Mitchell DeYoung, who is on 2311 Racing, along with Keegan Leahy, who is on 2311 Racing. So he held off Alfala, he held off his teammate in Mitchell DeYoung for the win. The first caution took out Keegan Leahy, and both William Byron Esports drivers, Nick Ottinger, who won the pole, Logan Clampett in the 97, Michael Conti in the 8, and those were the 3 dominant cars of the race. So that basically left Bobby Zielinski, who was the 4th fastest car, and Brad Davies, who had a pit road speeding penalty. So you basically just had Zielinski at that point, and there was just caution after caution. They couldn't, in overtime, they couldn't get through turn 1 without the caution waving.
Have you ever driven Pocono? I mean, I've driven Pocono on iRacing. I've driven it in the trucks.
I've driven it in the IndyCar.
Well, I think I've done that too. I wrecked, but I made it through in trucks. It's dicey. So, and
I've run it into trucks as well. I've mainly ran it in IndyCar, and in IndyCar, turn 2 is dicey, almost no matter what series you're talking about. Monday Night Racing did run again, and again, Shane Van Gisbergen won. That's his 4th win in 6 races that he's run. So he's kind of like Kyle Larson to a certain point.
No, he's not. No, because Kyle Larson is just like, superstar race car driver right now.
Well, Shane Van Gisbergen is superstar race car driver in Australia, to be fair. But
he's doing it in pixels. Kyle Larson's doing it at 200 miles an hour in real life. So
I
praise,
understand,
all the praise
but-
to Kyle Larson. You know, he deserves the kudos. Man.
And as we speak right now, granted, I know this is recorded, but as we speak right now, qualifying is actually going on for the E-Racer Firecracker 400. And Nick Ottinger is currently on the pole. He's one of 3 drivers that have gone faster than a 43-second lap. And some of the notables that have not made the top 20 to lock into the main event, which is a week from today, Dale Earnhardt Jr. did not qualify as of right now. Same with Ryan Vargas and Garrett Smithling. They all have to go to second round qualifying tomorrow to try to lock into the main event next week.
Okay. Hey, is that a kick in the tires pen that you're chewing on?
Not chewing on it.
Now.
But yes, it's a kick in the tires pen. It's a kick in the pen. It's a kick in the pen tire, or kick in the tires pen, whatever.
You got an SRX recap for us over there, Mr. Scratchy Pokey?
I don't want to do these anymore. Hey, what's that hotline to NASCAR security? I'm gonna call it right now.
Am I bullying you?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. This SRX series is wow. Like, they are doing really, really well. I don't think anyone realized how big this is. So 1.3 million viewers last week on their season opener, 1.1 million this round at Knoxville on dirt. They are absolutely blowing it out of the ballpark with CBS Sports right now for an inaugural series like this, only 6 races. They are bringing in a viewership, and I think I couldn't find it, but I could have sworn I heard somewhere that Knoxville was sold out. I know Stafford was sold out. And there's no way these 6 races are not going to be sold out. This is just absolutely great stuff that Tony Stewart's got, and Ray Evernham and all the other people running it. Speaking of Tony Stewart, he won. So there you go. Yeah, so everyone can finally say it's been fixed and we're good to go. We can get that out of our system and get it done.
I don't mean that, Tony. I know you raced your ass off, but yeah.
He did. He did.
He really did. I saw the race.
And I'll tell you what, one of the people that kept him honest that entire race, I don't think anybody, and even he admitted there's no way I would have thought I would have been keeping Tony honest, was Ernie Francis Jr. He had never stepped foot on dirt before, then goes out and runs second almost that entire main event, even when Mikey took the lead from everyone and Stewart kind of fell back. So kudos to him. He did get a little of the bump and run from Haley Deegan, who ended up stealing that second spot on the final lap or 2 laps ago or whatnot. So really cool to see her right up there, only within about a second or 2 right behind Tony Stewart.
Here's my question. If she could have got to Tony's bumper, because he was...
Yes. I don't even know why you're asking that question. That's the stupidest question I've ever heard in my entire life.
Here's what I'll say, though. If she had more practice in the car, because she didn't get to practice Friday because she was running the truck race.
Right.
So she only had 5 laps of practice, and that was the qualifying session.
And to be fair, she didn't give Ernie a bump and run. She passed him cleanly on that last lap. So
did she?
Yeah,
she gave I think it was Paul Tracy the bump and run earlier in the race.
Paul was giving himself a bump and run like the whole night.
He would have bumped and run it. He would have bumped and run everybody. Tony earned it. So that was a great race. It really was.
It was. Yeah.
Okay.
It's so exciting.
Do we have a Nashville recap? I mean, the big news is Kyle Larson won and Chase Elliott was disqualified and Ross Chastain came in second. Justin, you have anything else?
I mean, I don't know what not Stewart-Haas, but I don't know what Chip Ganassi got all of a sudden. Hendrick stuff. But I mean, some switch was flipped over there, and they figured out what Hendrick has figured out, because all of a sudden they are consistently top 5s and top 10s, intermingling it with the Hendrick cars.
Hey, Kurt ran out of gas. That was the only reason why he started dropping back.
Yeah, but he was what, 6th or 7th
He was
on the
6th.
last lap? 6th, yeah.
And he ended up 8th when he crossed the line.
Right.
So
well, now he's 7th because Chase.
Well, no, Chase was 13.
Oh, okay, that's right. Chase was further back. So,
Yep.
But he still gets that extra point. So
Yeah.
That he did. Yeah, I mean,
And the other thing, Ryan Preece won the truck races in his first truck start.
that was pretty cool. That was
yeah.
40.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's one of like 5 or 6 drivers that have done that. Casey Kane is one of the others. Robert Presley,
Newman was
Mike Skinner.
2008, so
Yeah.
it's a pretty rare feat.
yeah.
And he did it at a track that he never ran on before. It's like,
Yeah.
That a lot of these guys haven't run on before.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to realize the last NASCAR in general race was what, 10 years ago?
2011.
Yeah.
So
And
they were there
Preece-
testing in like 14 or something. But
Yeah. And Preece is back in the truck at Pocono. And also in the Truck Series field is Kyle Busch, who won his 100th Xfinity start or Xfinity race at Nashville.
yeah, and he's got to race 2 more races this year. And then he says he may not race next year because there's nothing sold. So he could be hanging it up. No more Xfinity races for
nothing
for Kyle Busch.
sold. He's just living up to his promise of when he gets to 100, he'll retire. Trust me. He could sell.
So
he could literally sell a sponsor on like his sock, like on the underside of his sock, and be like, "All right, I'm gonna put a sponsor right there."
Right, but here's the thing: he only gets 5 races. It's the Kyle Busch rule. Come on.
Yep.
So how long until he claims he would retire from the Truck Series then? Because he's only at 50-something wins in the Truck Series right now.
I think he gets for to 100 in the Truck Series too.
Well, I
But it's
think
gonna be a lot harder.
I think he's going to eventually run for a Truck Series championship.
That's my thought.
Yeah, me
and
too.
become the first guy to win championships in all 3 series.
So
After
who-
his Cup career, though. I think.
So who's gonna get to 300 total wins first?
Kyle
Hendrick
Busch.
Motorsports in the Cup Series or Kyle Busch across all 3 series?
Kyle Busch.
Well, no, Kyle Busch is at 219 right now. Hendrick is at 270 right now.
I'll go with Hendrick. Yeah.
I mean, numbers wise, you would think, but I tell you what, if Kyle could run, if there was no Kyle Busch rule in Xfinity and trucks, I would pick Kyle Busch. But there is definitely the Kyle Busch rule that, first it was 10, then it was 7, now it's 5, and it's all because people whine. They only whine when he races and wins. They don't whine when like Junior or somebody else, Ryan Preece. They don't whine about them going down there.
Well,
Because they don't win. And they usually don't run that much. Like if you think of Keselowski or Harvick or Logano, Blaney, these guys, I think they only have like 3 starts combined in the last 2 years. Like a lot of the Cup guys don't run Xfinity much anymore.
Well, Blaney can't run in a lot of other stuff. It's a whole coordinated thing. Unlike Larson and what's going on over at Hendrick, Roger Penske doesn't let those guys race extracurricular races. And I learned that earlier this week in talking to Ryan. So,
although I will say this, though, I noticed something interesting on the owner's points sheet. There is now a Penske number 12 in the Xfinity Series listed on the owner points. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they run, whether it's Brad, Joey, or Blaney, at either Road America or the Indy Road Course to get some experience, since there is qualifying at both races.
Well, like I said, I talked to a lot of people this past weekend being at the track, and with the garage being open and things like that, and NASCAR making drivers actually available for interviews. DiBenedetto obviously doesn't know what he's doing next year, but not worried. He'll have something.
And they're, according to him, in his contract, they have to let him know by like August 1st or whatever.
August 1st, but last year it went longer than that. Kurt Busch is in the same boat. He's got to August 1st is like the general. We have to tell people what their plans are for the next year, and so that's pretty much across the board. So it'll be interesting to see how all this plays out. But
And then too with Brad Keselowski and Roush, who knows if that's actually going to go through or not.
Well, I asked Brad this weekend. A lot of people ask Brad's questions, but I talked to Brad, and he's like, "I promise you, I will talk to you in 2 months." So, in 2 months, I will be giving him a call, and we will see what Mr. Keselowski has to say about whether it's going to be Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, or Roush Keselowski, or Keselowski Fenway, or Keselowski Roush, or just Keselowski Racing. Who knows? It could be a combination of anything. But Brad Keselowski, obviously, the rumor mill out there that he's going to leave Penske and join the Roush fold.
Well,
It's
depending
a better
on
name.
Do what?
That name's a mouthful.
well,
It's like BK
Well-
Roush or something.
well, they have a number of options to pick. And speaking of picks, there were some winners and losers in fantasy last week.
Loser.
Oh, that's right.
Kind of a
I
loser.
forgot.
Yep.
I forgot about the fantasy stuff at Nashville.
How did you forget when you're freaking leading the points now?
How
That's
did
all
that
you brag
happen?
about.
Seth, explain how I became the leader of fantasy NASCAR points.
Well, you became the leader in fantasy NASCAR points by picking Kyle Busch, who finished 10th and that is also not only did he finish 10th because of the way everything worked out, but he also gained a spot in I think it was stage 2 with Chase being disqualified because he was behind Chase at the time. So he got 39 points, giving you a total of 571 and a 21-point lead.
Nice.
Be classy, Jerry. I was classy for like 7-8 weeks when I led the points.
I'm gonna stay classy because I
And-
know it can. I know it can slip away in just one race. It'll be gone.
Now the winner of the week was yours truly. I picked Larson because Jerry picked my pick, Kyle Busch. And somehow no one had picked Larson yet, so I grabbed Larson, and he won his 4th race in a row. No one in the modern era has ever won 5 in a row.
Yeah, but does the All-Star count?
I'm not counting the All-Star.
So then that'll be 3 in a row, yeah. But still, it's either way, it's super impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy had 4 in a row and 07. That's all I can remember.
Yeah. So who's third? Who's second place? Who's in second place? Who's in third? What's the breakdown?
Well, me and Zach are tied, right?
Tied for second is Justin and Zach.
Yeah.
And then in 4th is myself with 546 points. I'm 25 behind Jerry. In 5th is Sarah. In 6th, 2 points behind Sarah is Summer. 1 point behind Summer is Rachel. And then you have Christian, another 5 back. And Matt is over 100 points behind you, Jerry.
What happens when you slave yourself to Uncle Bozo's?
Yes. Now,
Hey, yesterday was Prime Day. This is going to be the first week that Corson gets to relax in the past month. So happy for him to be able to at least chill.
now it's time for our picks for Pocono, but it's a double header, so we actually have to make 2 cup picks.
Wow.
So how do we want to do this? Do we want to do like Saturday's race, we go from the bottom up, and then Sunday's race, we go from the top down?
No, we're just gonna go bottom up like normal.
See, that's tough because one of our picks might win on Saturday but lose on Sunday.
Well, you get to pick
Ooh.
twice.
Ooh, here's an idea. You get 2 picks. So you do your first pick, you do your second round of picks, but we cannot pick the same picks. So so between the 4 of us, we have to pick 8 different drivers.
That works.
Okay.
So
So
The first-
are we picking 2 drivers for?
Yeah, why don't we just do it like normal? We pick the first race, then we come back and pick the second race. Don't be messing up our.
Oh, come on. I'm trying to make it like the All-Star race, super complicated that you can't figure it out, and it gives us the advantage.
No.
okay, well here, how about I set the example since I'm the lowest in points of us here, so that means I pick first.
Okay, go ahead.
So For trucks, even though we're not counting trucks in Xfinity yet, for trucks, I'm picking Kyle Busch. For Xfinity, I'm picking Ty Gibbs. For the first Pocono race, I'm taking Kyle Larson. For the second Pocono race, I'm taking William Byron.
Ooh.
Now the next person to pick is Zach.
Okay. For trucks, I'll go with. I guess that's only matter. Zane Smith. He just came off his first top 5, so I'll go with him. Xfinity, I'll go with Austin Cindric. I remember him being incredibly fast there last year. And then for Cup, I guess on Saturday, Christopher Bell for race 1. He got a top 5 there last year, and he had another top 5 run in the second race before crashing out. So go with him. And then Denny Hamlin for race 2. He's always so good on these double headers. He usually wins, whether it's at Michigan or Dover or Pocono. He usually wins one. So I'll go with Denny for race 2.
What was your
Justin,
pick for race 1?
His first pick was Bell.
Bell. Okay. All right. So for trucks, I mean John Hunter Nemechek, because that's kind of the easy one, right? So we'll do that. And then for Xfinity, I feel like I want to go for a surprise or a half surprise, I should say. I'm going to go Jeb Burton. I'm going to go Jeb Burton for that one. And then for Cup, let's see here. For the Pocono Organics CBD 325, so Saturday's race, I will go, and we can't pick same Cup guys, so let's see. So Larson.
You can.
Yeah.
Oh, we can?
Yeah.
Oh, well then shoot. Well, then yeah, Larson for, oh, you know what, Seth, I'll do the opposite of you then. I'll go Byron for Saturday, Larson for Sunday.
Fair enough.
I'll do opposite of that. I mean, that's just, I mean, you can't go wrong with the Hendrick stable, and especially with Kyle Larson, who literally over the last 3 races is 1 point shy of max possible points, 189 out of 190. I put up on my tweet 188, but that was before Elliott's DQ. So that's definitely points being locked in right there.
And I heard he gained 90 points on the regular season championship with Denny over the last 3 races.
101 before Elliott's DQ, so 100 points.
10. Now he's 10 points back.
Yep. Yeah. And he's moved from 4th to 1st playoff seed. He's led 648 of the 792 laps, which is 986.1 of the 1,231.7 miles. And if you're curious percentage wise, that's leading 81.8% of the races.
Well, he's still going to lose on Saturday and Sunday.
Now there's one more person who still has to make picks, Jerry.
I'm going to stick with Johnny Sauter for the truck race because sooner or later, by God, the bad luck has got to get off of that man's shoulders. And I went to Thorsport to their farm out in Nashville last week in Murfreesboro, and great digs, great setup, nice food. Talked to Johnny, talked to Crafton and Christian Eckes and Ben Rose and a bunch of others. But yeah, I'm gonna have to stay with Johnny Sauter for trucks. For Xfinity, I'm gonna go with, after having a bad luck with the brake rotor, I'm gonna go last week. I think they figured that out. I'm gonna go with Brandon Brown again with Brandon Motorsports, of course, because we have a partnership with them. And then, since this counts, I'm thinking Alex Bowman on Saturday and Ryan Blaney on Sunday.
Ooh, interesting.
Right.
All right. Well,
There's my
then
picks.
Then here are Rachel's picks because she texted me them from work. She wants to pick Joey Logano for Saturday. And then she said her backup pick was Ryan Blaney so in this case would be for Sunday. So if we're letting people double up, on top of each other, then she'll also go Ryan Blaney for Sunday.
Oh, well, you can't pick the same thing I picked.
Okay.
No, she picked Logano Blaney.
But she picked Blaney for Sunday, like Jerry.
Yeah, I picked
So
Bowman for Saturday and Blaney for Sunday.
So let's reverse it and do Blaney for Saturday and Logano for Sunday. Would that work for her?
She wants to do Logano for Saturday because Logano's starting 4th and Blaney's starting down at 27th. So I'll get her other pick for Sunday then.
Okay. And then we'll have to wait on Sarah, Summer, Matt, and Christian. But that's going to do it, guys, this week. We'll call it a wrap. I'm going to go, well, I was going to go have some Andy's custard, but I don't have any more. So quit rolling your eyes.
Just have Zach go run.
If you had some of this stuff, you would be eating it too. I'm just saying. If you had Andy's custard right now, you would be eating Andy's custard. You'd be wearing this hat and you'd be eating that stuff. Okay? It's really, really good.
You can have your custard and eat it too.
Yes, you can. So that's a good slogan. I like that.
I know. That's why I said it.
That's going to do it here for us on Kickin the Tires and the Kickin Show. We'll see you guys next week if Justin and I don't, crater the website before then.